Welcome to The Explainer. Have you ever actually stopped to wonder about the absolute limits of human uniqueness? I don't just mean having a rare talent or a cool birthmark. I'm talking about a statistical anomaly so profound that the numbers literally start to break our brains. Today, we are embarking on a mind-bending mathematical thought experiment to calculate the exact odds of the rarest human possible.
Okay, let's dive into this. Just picture this for a second. You're sitting in a park one afternoon, and a woman walks by and sits right beside you. She's white as snow, her hair is silver and curly, and her eyes are this brilliant, striking blue. You're completely captivated, right? So you strike up a conversation and ask her name. She says, Abarash, and casually mentions she's from a tiny tribe in sub-Saharan Africa. Suddenly it clicks, she's a black woman with albinism. You ask for her number, she takes your phone, typing away with her left hand. You go on dates, she's absolutely brilliant, you fall completely in love. And then beep, 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 your alarm goes off. It was just a dream. You just lay there, heart racing, and wonder, does a person like that actually exist out there?
Statistically speaking, yeah, actually it's absolutely possible. But that dream raises a much more fascinating question. Out of the 8 billion people alive today, what would the absolute rarest possible person actually look like? Instead of just guessing, we're going to build this hypothetical human trait by trait, rolling a chronological statistical snowball to see just how astronomical the odds can really get.
All right, Phase 1, Origins and Appearance. Let's get into it. When we look at how humanity is distributed across the globe, we see massive extremes. There are roughly 7,000 distinct ethnic groups on Earth, but most of us are concentrated in a few huge ones. For example, Han Chinese people account for about 18% of the global population. That is over 1.4 billion people from just a single ethnic group. But on the absolute opposite end of that scale sit some of the smallest ethnic groups alive today. We're talking about groups like the Sentinelese of the Andaman Islands, estimated at somewhere between 50 and 400 people, or the Kawahiva of the Brazilian Amazon, thought to be fewer than 30 individuals, and the Spinifex people of Australia numbered only around 200 at their last count. So, for our rarest human, we're going to place their ethnic origin in one of these tiny groups, using a super conservative population estimate of just 500 people.
So, the crucial point is right here. If you belong to a group of just 500 people within a global population of 8 billion, the math works out to 1 in 16 million. That gives our person a tiny fractional 0.625% chance of existing. We barely even started, and already we're looking for a needle in a global haystack.
Now, let's add a really striking physical trait: albinism. This genetic condition is caused by mutations that severely reduce or even completely eliminate melanin production. The visual result? White or near-white skin, striking silver hair, and eyes that can actually range from light blue all the way to pink depending on how the light interacts with the unpigmented iris.
It's an absolutely beautiful and fascinating trait, but it is also incredibly rare worldwide. Globally, albinism occurs in approximately 1 in 20,000 people. So this is our first major compounding genetic factor.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because when we actually crunch the numbers and combine our isolated tribe probability of 1 in 16 million with that 1 in 20,000 probability of albinism, the math completely explodes. Our person now has a 1 in 320 billion chance of existing. Think about that. We have already completely bypassed the current human population size.
Moving on to Phase 2, Eyes and Dominant Hands.
Let's talk about the eyes. Now you might think green eyes are the way to go, right? They are the rarest normal color, showing up in about 1 in 50 people. But actually, scratch that. That's not the rarest eye mutation out there. Complete heterochromia takes the crown. This is a super rare condition, usually present right from birth, resulting in 2 completely different eye colors. We're talking like 1 bright blue eye and 1 deep brown eye. It's caused by differences in the amount or distribution of melanin. It gives a person an incredibly striking look, but in almost all cases, it's entirely harmless and doesn't affect vision at all.
So how rare is it? The exact probability of having complete heterochromia is roughly 0.06%. That equals about 1 in 1,667 people. Just another incredibly slim margin to add to our growing mathematical puzzle.
Next up, let's make our rarest person left-handed. Handedness is such a fascinating trait. It's partly heritable, but no single gene actually determines it. In fact, get this, even identical twins who share nearly identical DNA will differ in their handedness about 20% of the time. It relies heavily on brain lateralization. Left-handed people often share the cognitive load across both hemispheres. Now, if we factor out historical social pressures that cause underreporting, a true conservative rate sits at just 10%, or 1 in 10 people.
And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer power of compounding odds. Combining our isolated ethnicity, the albinism, the complete heterochromia, and the left-handedness, our person now has a 1 in 5.33 quadrillion chance of existing. No way, right? We have officially left the realm of human scale entirely.
All right, phase 3, super senses and memory.
So while most of us rely on standard trichromatic vision to see, roughly a million colors, tetrachromacy is like a literal real-life superpower. A tetrachromat possesses a fourth type of cone cell in their retina, which is sensitive to wavelengths hidden right between red and green. This provides color information most people cannot even fathom, allowing some tetrachromats to distinguish up to 100 million distinct colors.
What's absolutely fascinating is that this is almost exclusively a female trait. Why? Because the mutation is linked to the X chromosome. Women have 2 X chromosomes, meaning they can inherit both a standard and a mutated version of the relevant gene, potentially creating that fourth cone type. Men generally just can't. About 12% of women carry the mutation, but only a tiny fraction actually develop functional tetrachromacy. Researchers estimate it occurs in roughly 1 in 40,000 women, which breaks down to a final overall global probability of 1 in 80,000 people.
Finally, let's give our rarest human a mind that literally never forgets. Enter hyperthymesia, or highly superior autobiographical memory, HSAM for short. Now, I really want to emphasize this. This isn't just having a good memory. This is the continuous, completely involuntary ability to vividly recall nearly every single day, conversation, and mundane, ordinary event of one's life. It's often likened to a continuous replay of a person's entire past that they just cannot stop.
This condition is astonishingly rare and really quite new to science. It was first formally identified back in 2006 by neuroscientist James McGaugh, after a patient named Jill Price described her total inability to stop remembering her past. Since then, fewer than 100 confirmed cases have been identified worldwide, even with incredibly generous estimates that account for, say, undiagnosed individuals. We conservatively place the total at a few hundred people globally. That makes the probability roughly 500 out of 8 billion, or a 1 in 16 million chance.
Which brings us to the final act, phase 4, the astronomical odds. Let's do a really quick recap of the 6 incredibly rare traits we've mathematically stacked together. 1. An isolated ethnicity of just 500 people. 2. Albinism. 3. Complete heterochromia. 4. Left-handedness. 5. Tetrachromacy, allowing them to see 100 million colors. And 6. Hyperthymesia, to remember every single detail flawlessly.
When we bring all of this together, the total probability of this exact person existing is 1 in 6.83 septillion. Let that sink in for a second. Septillion. It's a number so unfathomably large, it honestly challenges our very grasp of reality.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that this number literally forces us to look up at the cosmos just to understand ourselves. The estimated number of stars in the entire observable universe is roughly, at most, 1 septillion. That means the probability of our rarest human existing is nearly 7 times rarer than picking one specific star out of the entire universe.
If that doesn't completely ground the mind-blowing math for you, try this visualization. If you count all the grains of sand on Earth, it wouldn't even be close. To get to 6.83 septillion, you would literally need to have 910,000 entire Earths made purely of sand, just to match our final number.
And here is the wildest part of the whole shebang. This isn't even the absolutely rarest person you can make. There are still countless other traits and combinations out there holding endless possibilities. Rare blood types, specific body mutations, varied intelligence levels. It's too many to even fully calculate. But what you should really take away from this explainer is this. Every single one of us is totally unique. It is absolutely true that there are plenty of fish in the sea, but the math proves there is literally no one as beautifully rare as you. So just keep on swimming. Which leaves us with one final fascinating question. If these are the astronomical odds for just 6 traits, what other invisible mathematical miracles are hiding inside your own DNA?